President-elect Trump. He will be making his first, I guess you would say, appearance on the global stage as president-elect by attending the reopening of the newly restored cathedral in the Notre Dame Cathedral in France, which was nearly destroyed in 2019 by a devastating fire. Now, Trump was invited by French President Emmanuel Macron to join him for this. And of course, that country's in the middle of a political crisis that deepened earlier today with the ousting of the French prime minister. Now, is there something happening in Europe that we need to be watching? And if so, what are the implications for us, just as we were talking about what's happening in South Korea? Joining me now live from London to discuss this is Peter Mcilvenna. He's the co-founder of Hearts of Oak, a freedom of speech alliance, and he works in the office of the UK's House of Lords. Peter, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Great to be with you, Tony. Thank you so much.
And thank you for staying up late. I know it's late there in the UK. So let's start with the news that broke just a few hours ago today. Today, a historic no confidence vote by the French Parliament. Tell us what's happening there.
Well, Tony, it's never too late to join you. But in France, we had the French Prime Minister, Michel Barnier, who is known to British viewers because he was the one that basically headed up the Brexit negotiations on behalf of the EU. Very influential figure. He was put in by Emmanuel Macron after Macron's big defeat, basically, in the last elections when Marine Le Pen came first, got the biggest share of the vote. And instead of Marine Le Pen forming the government as the largest grouping, the two smaller groupings on the left came together. And that has not lasted. Michel Barnier, obviously the prime minister appointed by the president, similar, I guess, in Russia, where Putin appoints the prime minister, similar in France. So the prime minister, the president, Macron, appointed Barnier, who he thought would be a pick that everyone would accept. Now, he forced through a budget bill yet 2 days ago, I think, without a vote of parliament, which is very strange. And that obviously upset not only Marine Le Pen's party, the largest party, but the far left party. So left and right came together and said, we're not having this. And they had a vote of no confidence. And Michel Barnier lost that by 330 to 280. So he will have to resign.
So, Peter, he's a conservative. This was what he was pushing through in terms of the budget, as I understand it, was to address the out-of-control spending there in France. And so what does this tell us about? Is there a political shift that's taking place there in Europe?
There is a big political shift, and this is what's exciting to the FRC viewers, to the American audience, that this is Europe becoming open to President Trump stepping back into the White House. This is why I'm really excited what's happened. We've seen changes in Austria, in the election in Austria. The German government have collapsed and they're going to have elections with Alternative for Deutschland polling at 20%. We've got Macron being very weak, and you've always had that Franco-German alliance in the EU. It's been Germany and France, the two big powers in Europe. Germany, very weak politically after Merkel left, and she basically has not been replaced. And in France, Macron's become weaker and weaker. And that means into that gap is the populist parties that have done hugely well across Europe, whether it's Viktor Orban in Hungary, whether it's Meloni in Italy, whether it's the Swedish Democrats doing exceptionally well up in Sweden, whether it's the Freedom Party polling extremely well in Austria, and on and on. In Spain, the Populist Party came second, in Portugal it came third. So there's a resurgence of the nation state, putting the nation above the EU. And that's what really is puts fear into the heart of Europe, the establishment, because they want the European Union project to continue, in which it's telling those small states what they must do, and Germany and France telling them. But with that vacuum in Germany and France, with Marine Le Pen doing exceptionally well on the last election, I saw a poll, and she's polling at 39% in an election that happened 2 days ago in France, so doing even better and better. And that means you've got a lot of parties actually in power or holding the reins of power because of coalitions who are very friendly and very open and very welcoming to President Trump. So I think instead of 2016, where there was a clash, now we could see an embrace, and I think that's an extremely positive thing.
Well, is that a part of Macron's invitation to Trump to come there to Notre Dame this weekend?
Macron will do whatever he has to do to survive. He is a survivor. He's not a conviction politician. He will feel the public opinion and he will go with it. I don't know what he really believes as a politician, similar to Keir Starmer in the UK, devoid of convictions. So it's curious, when I saw President Trump had been invited, I saw that, I think, beginning of today, I was intrigued and pleasantly surprised. Maybe Biden can't take international trips any longer. Maybe he's not trusted outside the White House. I don't know. But obviously Macron is trying to reach out, trying to position himself. And Macron and Keir Starmer in the UK, they've tried to position themselves as the rulers, the new kings of Europe. But they're both very weak in terms of many areas. So I think this is Macron trying to save his skin, reach out to President Trump. But President Trump remembers and knows how some of the European leaders treated him in the past, and he has a long memory. So I think that he will be able to bypass Macron, really, and go to other governments and leaders that are much more positive and embracing of America revitalizing itself and reaching out to the world and beginning to address some of the issues we face worldwide.
Peter, we just have a few minutes left, but I want to transition to a topic you and I have talked about as it pertains to the UK, but it applies to all of Europe, and that is the presence of Christianity and Orthodox religion as it pertains to the Christian faith. The president going there for the rededication or the unveiling of the the rebuilt cathedral. That's a centerpiece. I mean, that's an iconic place there in France, but it no longer represents what it once did. Give us the state of play from a standpoint of the influence of Orthodox Christianity in Europe and what that means for the future.
Well, I was in Paris.
Oh, I think we lost it right when I was getting to the heart of what we wanted to talk about. Well, maybe we'll get him back. I don't know. Somewhere between here and the UK, we lost the signal.
Heck yeah.
There he is. All right. Go right ahead.
I don't know what happened across the water, but I was in Paris just 4 weeks ago outside the Notre Dame Cathedral, just obviously before it opened, and it's a glorious building, over 800 years old. I was looking at some of the statistics. I mean, the spire was built of oak, burned down obviously in that fire 5.5 years ago, but it was 750 tons of oak lined with lead, and those oak trees were cut down in 1160. That shows the history and heritage. Now that has changed. We have seen, I know in the UK in the last 5 years, we have seen 200 churches affected by arson. And I think about a year ago in 2022 in European Parliament, an MEP talked about attacks on 613 churches across Europe. So we are seeing that is an attack on that. But then also we are seeing nations of collapsing Christianity. In the UK, we just had an assisted dying bill passed where you can help someone end their life. And that's been hotly debated for 30 years in the UK, and that has now getting pushed through. And a bishop yesterday was saying that the UK has lost its Christian ethos, its Christian basis, whenever it thinks actually the killing of those who are no longer beneficial to society is a positive thing. And we've seen that happen across Europe. In Belgium, you can now have children killing themselves if they're depressed. So we are seeing a change in what it means for life. And because churches are not there shining brightly, teaching people, teaching school children what life is all about. We're all made in the image of God. And when you take away that, then anything fills into that vacuum. And we are seeing a culture of death across Europe.
Is it, very quickly, I got 30 seconds left, but Peter, as American politics influence Europe through Trump, could also we see the church of the United States impact Europe as well?
Oh, big time. I think many European churches are looking to the States, are looking at that confidence of actually what it means to have a Christian worldview, a Christian ethos. And when Trump goes back into the White House and speaks truth, then Europe will be watching. And I think we'll see churches excited, growing, and embracing their heritage once again.
Wow. Well, we look forward to being a part of that conversation with you as that time comes. So thanks so much for joining us.